So the next question is, again, it's picking up from The Poison Tree, A Tale of Hindu Life in Bengal. We're on question 7. Question 7. How does the point of view affect this story? The limited first-person perspective allows the narrator to tell his story, but leaves the reader with little information about the girl, her situation, or the wedding plans. This builds tension and suspense and keeps readers guessing. B. The first-person point of view creates intimacy as readers access the conflicting thoughts and emotions of the narrator. This helps readers to understand his struggle between what he feels is right and the expectations of his patriarchal culture. C. The omniscient point of view describes the history of the characters and their thoughts and actions. This enables readers to understand the family unit and the complex factors that influence the characters' choices. Question 8. Which sentence best describes a theme of the poison tree? A. Beauty can be dangerous if not guarded and protected. B. Family and reputation must be protected at all costs. C. Giving help and kindness to others is better than receiving it. Question 9. Why is Tara Sharon interested in women's rights? A. Serge's compassion and kindness encouraged Tara to abandon his patriarchal beliefs and campaign for women's rights. B. His mother's struggles and flight influenced his current writings. He considers the social restrictions and mistreatment of women as a cause for her abandonment. C. Tara has no women in his home, so it is easy for him to have liberal views since it does not directly affect him. Question 10. Based on this excerpt from The Poison Tree, how does the Indian society view education? A. A well-educated person is important and valued. B. Education is not only for the wealthy. The lower classes have no use for it. C. Anyone who learns to speak English is considered a god. Question 11. How does the information about the characters and their families reflect culture? A. The explanation of family relationships makes clear each character's role in society. B. Serge's letter to her husband provides an example of a typical relationship in an arranged marriage. C. The focus on class emphasizes the importance of social hierarchy in Indian culture. Question 12. How does Serge's culture affect the way she approaches Tara's marriage? Select each correct answer. Since compatibility is important, Serja decides it is important that Tara marry someone who speaks English and shares his ideas. Since social class is important, Serja is determined to find Tara a respectable wife of the same class. Serja's responsibility for finding Tara a good wife is something she takes very seriously. She will not give consent until she finds a good match. We're now going to read an excerpt from In a Native Village, from Ride in the Devil and Other Stories. This reading goes along with question 13 through 16. This story is set in the late 1800s off an island off the coast of Australia. The narrator is a trader who recently settled on the island. Excerpt from In a Native Village, from Ride in the Devil and Other Stories by Louis Beck. Pigs were the next trouble, my own pigs and the pigs of the general public. When I landed on the island, I had brought with me from Sydney a lady and gentleman pig of exceedingly high lineage. They were now the proud and happy parents of 7 beautiful little black and white piglets, and at any hour of the day one might see numbers of natives looking over my wall at the graceful little creatures as they chased one another over the grass, charged at nothing, and came to a dead stop with astounding rapidity and a look of intense amazement. One fatal day I let them out, thinking they would come to no harm as their parents were with them. As they did not return at dusk, I sent Ewe, the under-nurse, to search for them. She came back and told me in a whisper that the father and mother pig were rooting up a sweet potato patch belonging to the local chief, the piglet she had failed to discover. Enjoining secrecy, I sent Ewe and Harry to chase the parents home. This was effected after considerable trouble, but the owner of the potato patch claimed $2 damages. I paid it, feeling his claim was just. Next morning, the 7 piglets were returned one by various native children. Each piglet had, according to their accounts, been in a separate garden and done considerable damage, and because they, the piglets, were the property of a good and just man, the owners of the gardens would not hurt nor even chase them. Glad to recover the squealing little wanderers at any cost, I gave each lying child a $0.25. Next day, I had a piece of ground walled in with lumps of coral and placed the porcine family inside. Then I wrote to the counselors asking them to notify the people that if any of the village pigs came inside my fence and rooted abysmal holes in my ground, as had been their habit hitherto, I should demand compensation. His Honor the Chief Justice stated in court that this was only fair and right. The white man had paid for the damage done by his pigs, and therefore he was entitled to claim damages if the village pigs caused him trouble. I had previously squared his honor with the promise of a male succor. One day, the 7 young pigs escaped from their mother and went out for a run on the village green. They were at once assailed as detestable foreign devils by about 243 gaunt, razor-backed village sows, and were only rescued from a cruel death after everyone had lost its tail. Why is it that pigs of different breeds always bite off each other's tails? I claimed 50 cents per tail and was awarded $3.50 in damages, to be paid by the community generally. The community refused to pay. His Honor then notified by the town crier that I was at liberty to shoot any pig that broke into the station grounds. I put a cartridge into a Snider rifle and told my servants to call me if they heard a grunt in the night. 3 days after this, as I was discussing theology and baked fowl one night with the local teacher in his own house, a boy burst in and said there was a strange pig in my garden devouring my crop of French beans. In 2 minutes I was back in my house, snatched up the Snider, and ran to the garden wall. There was the brute, a great black and white beast, the biggest native pig I ever saw. His back was turned, but hearing my steps, he went about and faced me. 'Twas a bright moonlight night, and the bullet plugged him fair between the eyes. Over he rolled without a kick. Then I heard a shriek or laughter and saw half a dozen girls scuttling away among the cocoa palms. A horrible suspicion nearly made me faint. Jumping over the wall, I examined the defunct, and I could scarce forbear to shed a tear. 'Twas mine own prized black Australian boar, daubed over with splashes of coral lime whitewash, and the whitewash came from a tub full of it, with which the natives had that morning been whitening the walls of the newly built village church. The one-eyed old scoundrel of a deacon told me the next day it was judgment on me. Question 13. How do the narrator's actions set the plot in motion? Paying cash to the villagers for any damage his pigs may have committed triggers a greedy response in the villagers. This causes them to trick him again and again. B. The narrator's flashy appearance and blatant displays of wealth cause the villagers to despise him. They look for ways to force him off their land. C. By sectioning off his pigs and declaring that the villagers must repay any damage done to them, the narrator creates tension. Question 14. How does the first-person point of view influence meaning in the story? A. It causes the readers to sympathize with the narrator and view the villagers as manipulative and dishonest, just as the narrator does. B. It enables the readers to better understand the difficulties of moving to a new place and trying to assimilate into a new culture. C. It ensures that the story remains objective and portrays both the narrator and the native villages as complete characters. Question 15. Which sentence best explains how the narrator views the native villagers at the end of the story? A. The narrator believes that the villagers are misunderstood and in need of guidance. B, the narrator believes that they are little more than liars and cheats. His prejudice and feelings of superiority are reinforced. C, the narrator respects the villagers' intelligence and admires that they were able to trick him. Question 16. Which quotation best explains how events in the story develop the theme? Do not be too quick to judge, or you may be judged yourself. A, next morning the 7 piglets were returned one by various native children. Glad to recover the squealing little wanderers at any cost, I gave each lying child a $quarter. B, she came back and told me in a whisper that the father and mother pig were rooting up a sweet potato patch belonging to the local chief. C, I put a cartridge into a Snider rifle and told my servants to call me if they heard a grunt in the night. Question 17. Read these sentences from The Little Dorrit by Charles Dickens. Everything that lived or grew was oppressed by the glare, except the lizard passing swiftly over the rough stone walls and the cicada chirping his dry, hot chirp like a rattle. The very dust was scorched brown, and something quivered in the atmosphere as if the air itself were panting. How does figurative language contribute to the tone of these sentences? A, the image of scorched brown dust contributes to a tone of desolation. B, the personification of panting air contributes to a tone of hopelessness. C, the simile of the cicada's rattle contributes to a tone of menace. Your last question, question 18. Would you like 9 points for free on this test? Yes or no? I would suggest saying yes. Make sure you save your answers and submit your test. Thanks and good luck.